The last time we had a new Formula One team join was in 2016. Now Cadillac being that new team that in 2026 will be the 11th team in Formula One. And they've been doing a lot to prepare. They were the first team to actually get access to working on the 2026 car about 2 to 3 months earlier than any other team. They've been hiring a lot of people, going from 0 to a pretty decent number, and they have a goal set out by the time they get to Australia 2026. They've now made some collaborations with Ferrari with a test in about a month or so to get their drivers in rhythm driving a Formula One car again with this experienced out duo of Bottas and Perez, which I think couldn't have gone any better for that Cadillac team. And in general, how they're working on the car, not taking many parts from Ferrari. I want to talk about it all. They've been preparing, and I think they could shock us. Now, that could go one way or the other, but I believe it's going to be in a good sense. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. Would mean the world to me. Thank you all for the support. Genuinely means everything that I'm able to do this. But with that said, let's get started in the video. This all started with a Michael Andretti bid, and it was getting canceled plenty of times. We weren't even sure if we were going to get it, and then eventually GM stepped up as an engine supplier, and the team was rebranded under this TWG Global, and that's how we ended up getting an 11th team locked in for 2026. That is where Cadillac comes from. It's going to be a completely different new season, different regulations. That's definitely going to help their cause. And as I stated earlier in the video, 2016 was the last time we saw a new team, which was Haas. And at that time, technology has grown a lot. I mean, it's a 9-year difference, actually 10, by the time we see this team on the grid. And Cadillac's already been taking steps that Haas was never able to do, first of all, because of budget, and second of all, with these technology gains in the world right now. Obtaining 2 experienced drivers was another key factor for them stepping into 2026 not being as unknown. Now, Perez is fresh off of Red Bull, which was his worst stint, arguably, but regardless, that brings extreme experience of winning titles, knowing what it's like being in a team that pushes like crazy, and I could argue that Red Bull is the team that probably is the grittiest on the field. And as a counterpart, he has Bottas, which is one of the most sleek professional teams to win so many championships, and he drove phenomenally next to Lewis Hamilton, was definitely a number 2, but a very consistent number 2, very quick, and in qualifying, had Lewis Hamilton's number a lot of the time. That in itself makes up a lot of experience. They have Colton Herta now going into F2. He is their test and reserve driver. That's possibly who they could build up to have an American driver in the team. But I think the best thing they could have done was go for Bottas and Perez. I talked about Cadillac employing, and it's not just about getting a certain target number. They want to be a super team just like Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes, and right now Aston Martin and McLaren are going to be. They've went from 0 and have over 400 employees right now, with the target to reach 600 to 650 by the Australian GP kickoff. And they're already about 67% of the way there. They're definitely going to get it. They've been hiring like crazy and poaching from other teams, which is a great sign. Their team principal, Loden, is an ex-Marussia CEO who's seen the startups, and while it wasn't a great stint, it's still great to have some experience under the belt in that team principal position. And they have 3 different facilities they're going to be using constantly throughout the season. Charlotte HQ is going to be for sims, Silverstone for the aero, and Fishers, Indiana for really the construction of everything else. At Silverstone, they have a simulator as well. Checo's been simming there. We'll talk about that later in the video. But all 3 of these will play a key part in building their 2026 F1 car. Talking about simming, that's been a very important and key factor as to why I believe they're coming to 2026 very well prepared when Haas and other teams were not able to do this. They have the money, they can afford it, they're not just waiting in the wind tunnel time, they're already doing full race simulations. It's been a minute since they've been doing them as well. We've just heard about it, but from Friday practice to the Sunday checkered flag, we have about 60 engineers glued in their rooms going over race strategies, basic setups, how the car is going to behave in the race, malfunctions possibly, errors that could happen, and in general, the duties of being at an F1 race during the weekend. Monza was the first time we've heard of this talking point for the team simulating a whole race weekend. And while we don't know the results, it's huge that they can go through this whole process and get the team used to working under those conditions, even if they aren't true as of yet. The real goal of this is to calibrate everything without having a real car yet. Pat Simmons has even talked about this and said validating protocols, building baseline setups, and stress testing comms so that they're race ready come 2026. They've even gone on to prepare pit stops and have a whole pit stop crew on an old F1 car that's going to have the certain shape of the 2026 tires. And right now the talks are they should have the first engine fired up by December 2025. Another key part into their 2026 integration is that Ferrari partnership. This goes along with Ferrari that they're able to fire up that power unit in December. And there have been reports that they've already done their first mandatory FIA crash test. Some people have said it's going to be within the next couple of weeks. But that is important to obtain chassis homologation, and in general, that's typically not the car they're going to be running because it's going to be heavy on the nose just so they're able to pass it. But that is a key step they needed to take. They've also refused purchase of any other components from Ferrari besides the engine and the gearbox. And I think this is huge. Building your own suspension, it's going to be tricky, but if they can do something, they have a good aero team around that and technical team. There's a big possibility they could step up right away in the start just based off of that they don't have those components relying on Ferrari, because that's where it gets very tricky to get better in the season and really step out of the midfield or back marker situation. And Checo has been also a big factor working in the simulator for the team, running these full race sims as well. And he will be the one participating in these private tests with Ferrari. Now, Bottas is a reserve driver for Mercedes, so he's kind of in this weird spot right now, waiting to get released. And then we'll possibly see Bottas doing a lot more of these tests. He's still doing as much as he can, and Mercedes is playing ball, but not as much as Checo can, because technically the only obligation Checo really has is being with that Cadillac team, unlike Bottas, who is that reserve. This test will be ran at Imola for supposedly 2 days, and there's possibly another joint test that could be done. It will be in the SF23, and this is really just to get them up to G-forces again. Checo has already been training the neck, but this could give them a good idea also of real race simulations, even if it is in a private environment, but with a real F1 car. So this is big as well. It'll just be that hands-on miles before we get to January, where every team will test its 26 car. Altogether, the team has been doing preparations that we've never really seen in Formula 1. It's advanced so much from the last time we've seen a team in F1. There is a big possibility that they could step up right in the start and possibly shock us. A lot of the expectation is going to go into whether or not they're even close to the grid. Being a back marker in itself could be an accomplishment for a lot of teams. But with this much technology, this many employees being hired, just being an overall big car manufacturer in the start, will help Cadillac step up. I believe we could see them fighting with teams. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship. By no means in 2026, they do not have the capability to do that as of yet. That would be an insane shock. But seeing them fight up in the midfield, possibly get some points in 26 would be a big start for the team. And I think it can be done. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Hearing all these preparations for 2026, where's your head at now with Cadillac? Leave a like, subscribe, it'd mean the world, and peace.